Welcome to the Trade Show Podcast, the home for conversations with global leaders in the trade show and events business. Our show will bring you face to face with experts who speak about the possibilities and trajectories of this $50 billion industry. I'm your host Shubhanjan Sarkar, founder of Pitchlink, the next generation visitor engagement platform where our mission is to make conversion easy. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Trade Show Podcast. Thank you for listening and your feedback from the very first episode. If you have suggestions or you want to listen to a specific guest, please write to me at shubhanjan@pitch.link or message me on LinkedIn. On to today's guest who needs no introduction, especially if you're in Canada or around the Calgary startup ecosystem. Meet Jade Alberts, founder, peer guidance, and VP Canadian Blockchain Consortium, host of the live streaming conversation, Telling It Like It Is, and of Founders Coffee.
So, we've done a lot of strategy building with these companies to make sure that they understand the importance of just not walking in, rolling up your banner and standing there and thinking it's going to work. So we've seen a lot of success here. But again, for those ones that don't plan, it is a waste of time. It is a waste of money. And if you get nothing out of it, well, you know what? Well, you put nothing into it. So what do you expect?
Jade, a seasoned serial entrepreneur, has dedicated the past 9 years to imparting invaluable knowledge to thousands of fellow entrepreneurs. Having personally navigated the entrepreneurial journey and contributed to multiple successful exits, Jade's commitment to giving back has manifested in numerous speaking engagements. He passionately champions the thriving innovations in Alberta through his dynamic live show, Telling It Like It Is, and the engaging platform, Founders Coffee. Jade is a serial entrepreneur with a track record of successfully guiding multiple companies to exit. As the founder of Peer Guidance, where purpose before profit is the priority, they operate as a fractional business team with a sharp focus on scale, growth, and people. As an angel investor, he has made strategic investments in Cleantech, life science, Agtech, and various industry-agnostic tech ventures, accumulating a portfolio of over 30 investments. Furthermore, he serves as a startup advisor for health sciences and social innovation hubs at the Innovate Calgary, University of Calgary, and AG Venture Fund, SVG Thrive. On top of these roles, Jade hosts a highly influential weekly business podcast, Telling It Like It Is, which has garnered over 5 million views, making it a prominent platform for insightful discussions. He has also initiated Founders Coffee in Alberta, creating a space for like-minded entrepreneurs to connect and exchange ideas. In addition to these commitments, he is the Vice President at the Canadian Blockchain Consortium, where the mission is to educate and unite the Canadian blockchain industry. Jade is a mental health advocate for entrepreneurs, speaks at events, and makes sure entrepreneurs realize they're not alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Now, on to this inspiring episode with Jade Alberts. Jade, welcome to the Trade Show Podcast. It was wonderful catching up with you a few weeks back, and as I had, sort of made my intent clear on that day that I'm going to sort of drag you into this show and have a chat. Here we are. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this conversation.
We'll start at the beginning. What are your thoughts around the Trade Show channel, Trade Show as a channel? What are your very high-level thoughts when you think of trade shows?
I am a huge fan of trade shows. A lot of the success I've had in my prior lives, even, before I became an entrepreneur, we had massive successes at trade shows. I still think people should have successes at trade shows. It's funny. I think this is ironic that somebody put a post out there the other day in our Calgary ecosystem and said that trade shows are kind of useless. And I commented on it right away. I'm like, absolutely not. They are not useless. If you're not prepared, yes, they are useless. But at a high level, I truly think that they are there. And if you have your plan and you know exactly what you want to accomplish out of it, and you set yourself up for some success, that you will have success at trade shows.
Absolutely. This is great because I was just speaking to somebody who is a trade show organizer this morning, and she told me that 85% of exhibitors never follow up.
That's crazy. Like, I just like, why go to
Why
the
are you there?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's what you're going there to get leads. I've seen companies, where employees go there, and again, they don't really care a whole lot. They're there to have a little fun and get some things and scan everybody, under the sun, and to get their contact info to follow up. Whereas if you're going to do that, that's wrong. I mean, you got to get there. You got to get your quality leads. You got to talk to people. You got to have enough, people there, and you got to follow up. I mean, that's number one of sales. Like, there is no two if you don't have one.
I'm like amazed. And by the way, the 85% number varies, but as I'm talking to guests in the show, and they're people who know about trade shows like you, and they all say the same thing. It varies between 70 to 80 or 90, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the fact is, a big majority of exhibitors do not follow up with leads that they collect.
Wow. That's just foreign to me because it's my number is 100. So it's just
absolutely,
if you have success, you're not having success if you're not following up with the people that you're at the talking to at the trade show. And some of them might just be humoring you and things along those lines, and that's fine, right? Like, not every lead is going to turn into a sale, but you never know. You never know who you're talking to.
Absolutely. I mean, before I move on, I want to latch on to one part of what you just said, that you have to have a plan to succeed in a trade show. I'll come back to that because I think that will be a slightly longer answer, which I would like to dig into. What you think is a plan? But a quick question before that. How accurate is the idea that trade shows are perhaps the strongest intent signal available to marketers and brands?
When we work with a lot of startups or scale ups and companies along those lines, and they're expensive. Trade shows are expensive, right? Like, we're always trying to tell them, hold on, maybe wait till the last minute, maybe you'll get a deal on the booth or something, right? Like, if money is an issue, but if it's not part of and I mean, obviously you have to be in an industry that has trade shows or whatever it is. Sure. If that's not part of your plan, you're literally not exploring all opportunities, and you are not giving yourself as a company the best chance to succeed. So there are many different ways of doing that. You don't have to go into it year one. Maybe you just go to it year one and walk the floor and see what it's like and find out if it's worth that investment. So yeah, it has to be part of your vision and your plan.
Wonderful. So that gives us a segue to talk about what's the plan. What is it, according to you, that exhibitors should be doing to come out with a positive ROI from a trade show that they've invested, say, $10,000, $20,000 or maybe more?
Yeah. I mean, you have a plan for everything else, right? You have a financial plan. If you have IP, you have an IP strategy plan. You're looking for non-dilutive plan. You have a business plan, right? So everything falls into some sort of plan, and the trade show vision and plan is no different. Looking at the industry out there, talking to people about what successes they had. Look, there's usually a list of the exhibitors, and you're probably going to know a handful of people on there, and talking to them, because if you go to the organizers, it's going to be so many people. But I mean, you have to do your due diligence on what is right. So knowing the right size of booth that you want, knowing where you want to go, knowing that you're going to be at the right market, and that, I mean, that's step one. I mean, step two is making sure that you have the right people there. And I mean, obviously you as a founder, or you as whoever it is going to be there, having your co-founders there, or at least having people there that are educated on your product, know what to do, understand how to talk about it. Because if they can't talk about it and they're like, oh, just hold on for Jade, he's standing over there. And if I'm in a 25-minute conversation, those people are leaving, right? Having the right brochures, having the right content, having to say, hey, you know what, here's Jade's card. They'll follow up with you if you can do it. I know, obviously, I was in the food industry and it's funny because I went to try and find my awards that I won for trade show, and I couldn't find them. We cleaned house during COVID, so they're somewhere. They're probably in a box. but we made a splash. Like I wanted to spend a little more money to, when we had the rights to Nathan's, where we put TVs up and ran the hot dog eating contest. We had the hot dogs rolling. We had guys dressed in Nathan's chef stuff. So we were giving out product because we knew that they could buy it at Safeway, Sobeys, Loblaws, and we had coupons so they could buy them at a BOGO. And again, getting everybody to get that taste in their mouth. And I didn't care if you were an exhibitor, whoever. I mean, we were going through some of the big shows, 12, 13,000 hot dogs, and we were cutting them in half, right? So we were serving a lot of product, and it was very, very important for us to get the product into their mouths. But, our trade show booths were unbelievable. And we had a small trade show booth that we would maybe, buy with a pull up and things like that. But for other ones, we would rent them because it was just too expensive to buy. And we'd have someone come in, set them up and take it down for us. And we would design the artwork. But that is part of the plan that you need to do. And obviously, the early days of trade shows, when you do them, you would actually need a business card, right? The later trade shows, now it's all scan and things along those lines. So the scanning made it easier to have those leads. But the one thing I disliked about scanning is a lot of times on the business card, I would turn it around and write something on there back in the day saying, oh, they were, interested. We briefly talked about this. When you did the scan, you didn't get into the notes section, which I didn't like. But yeah, I mean, you really have to have your vision and your plan set to move forward before you even, step on that floor.
Yeah. I was actually very interesting because my next question was your personal experiences participating in trade shows. So you pretty much give a lowdown. Anything else that comes to mind? Things that people did which stood out, or people came and told you later that, remember, we went to the trade show as an attendee and that was such a great thing these guys did?
When you're a small little business, I mean, I'm going to relate to Nathan's here. When we're trying to make it, it's hard to get into the Ciscos and GFSs. We had brokers, we're trying to backdoor it. And we couldn't get into their trade shows because it's pay to play. And we didn't have a lot of money. So we spent, our budget was spent on hitting a couple major food trade shows that were kind of independent. And then again, we made that splash. So Vancouver, Toronto, and took up a lot of space and did that. And before you know it, these companies came to us, the Ciscos and GFSs, saying, holy shit, will you do this at our trade show? Like, we'll let you into our trade show. We'll list your product if you come to our trade show. And before you know it, we're going to all these key trade shows with Ciscos and GFSs that the buyers are at. Maybe the buyers aren't there, maybe, certain things, but at the shows that we were at, but there was obviously. But again, I mean, doing those things, making that splash, getting noticed, and not just blending in of having a table and a backsplash on something like that. Like when we had the, six TVs across the top running the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island. And we had, women sitting there eating their hot dog, looking up there going, oh my God, that's so gross. Like, holy, like, and then they're like, can I have another one? Like, you're just like, right. But again, making that splash, right? You got to be memorable, like, or you just don't want to blend in. And when we started going to these shows again, like these independent shows, they would say, well, we can't have you where you were last year because you caused a traffic jam. Like the lineup to come into your booth was astronomical. We have to put you here. And I was like, well, I don't want to be there. Like, that's not like, we need to be in the middle. Like we'll pay. And then I was like, okay, we'll go there. Cause then I'm thinking people were going to find us. And of course they did. And then I just negotiated a lower rate. Say, if you're going to stick us in the corner, well, then I don't want to pay that price. I'm paying 50% of that. They were okay. Well, so it's like, away you go. Right.
Right. Absolutely. Do you recollect anything about B2B trade shows where you saw some booth or some engagement that stood out? Because it's about two things, right? Like you rightly mentioned, what is in the booth and who is standing in the booth and engaging with the visitor.
Because we were a small company, like I was at every single trade show, right? Like every single, and then there's a couple people that within our organization that we were able to bring after, right? Like once we kind of started opening up restaurants and people understood the brand and what we were doing in the vision, and having them there, having them in all our branded gear, and not your normal golf shirt that had something. Like we made up really cool shirts that, with the brand and things along those lines. And we'd have squishies that we would give out to kids, and we would, like little things if people were there. Right. And we made sure that they understood that, we would do things for them. Like we wouldn't just here's this, here's that, we've got these for you, we got those for you, but let's work with you. So making sure that everybody in that booth understands the importance of value selling and getting that person to commit to you and selling your product for, I don't want to say for whatever it takes, because there's certain things that we couldn't do, we couldn't spend, but your people in that booth had to be knowledgeable. They had to understand the importance of the conversations that you had. And sometimes there might just be, if we were talking to someone who, maybe wasn't me, they would say, you know what, I really want to talk to Jade and get a decision before we leave. And it's like, okay, well, come back here. I'll tell him that you're coming back. And if he sees you coming back, I'll just quickly pull you aside or something like that, right? To have those very important conversations before those people, leave the show.
And when you attend other trade shows, typically B2B trade shows, or industry-specific trade shows like agriculture or food or anything else that you see people doing, which you thought, oh, this is a nice thing that they're doing, and this is something which you can emulate?
It's probably my favorite phrase of all time. It's called R&C, and that's research and copy. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I saw somebody doing something at a trade show that I loved, it was in our next trade show, like 100%. If they did something that was absolutely unique and things along those lines, to do that, like we would actually bring in somebody from the hot dog eating contest and have a celebrity there, or or even earlier days we would have somebody that was very nicely, very good looking and very nicely dressed, handing out soft serve or whatever it was, right? Like if I saw something and I wanted people to come to our booth and make us stand out, I did it.
What do you think are the real challenges for exhibitors when they're going to a show to actually recover or build on the ROI that they're looking for? What are the challenges there?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just people don't plan. I don't think they're prepared, right? If I was flying to Detroit, like again, I have to use mine, right? Like my examples, because I truly believe we built one of the major successes of our companies was obviously trade shows, but when I would go to like Toronto, it's a big expense for us to go there, to fly there, to hotel there, to eat there. It was a big investment, right? But what also we did is I would stay there for an extra 2 days after the trade show. I wouldn't just pack up and get to the plane and come home. I was like, there's going to be people that I know here that are going to want to meet, and they're going to be hot. So I would set up 2 days of meetings after, saying, hey, I'll come to your store. I'll come meet with you. I'm not flying home till Friday, or I'm not flying home till whatever day. Like, let's have some meetings while these people are hot. And they're like, oh God, I didn't know that you were, you'd be staying here. I thought you'd be going home. Right. It's like, oh, no. Like, let's have some meetings. Right. Like it was, and again, it all comes down to planning and the execution of what you're doing. And I think there is a big difference between somebody who's an entrepreneur and has skin in the game, with a company, compared to an employee who's, getting some checks and, making a salary and away you go. So I think there's a big difference there. And if companies are just sending employees and thinking that they're going to get huge results, the employees will act different if number one, maybe their manager or the vice president or the president or founder is there. Like there's going to be a whole different atmosphere in the booth.
True. It's time for a short break. Stay with us. After the break,
we've seen some startups here that, go to Montreal, that go to New York, have gone down to the States to set up and we've worked with some of them. But again, some of these people have never done it before. So reaching out and asking for help is something that is extremely important. If you think you're going to take a pull-up banner and your product and be there, you're not ready.
You are listening to a Bizcast audio original. Podcasting is one of the fastest growing content marketing avenues today. We can help you exploit this largely untapped marketing opportunity. We can craft your audio strategy and leverage the wide reach and easy streaming capability that smartphone penetration provides. It is powerful and personal. Talk to us to find out how podcasting can help you build your brand and reach out to target audiences. Welcome back. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host for the Trade Show podcast and founder of Pitchlink, the visitor engagement platform. Let's dive right back into the episode. So would you say that one of the challenges is not planning for a appropriate follow-up?
Yeah, 100%. Right? Like what's, a lot of the times I would have a follow-up email ready to go. So obviously in the early days, you'd put them on a spreadsheet and have to individually enter the emails. The scanning made it a heck of a lot easier, right? Mm-hmm. And then saying, listen, like I would have them like literally the next day. Like I would go home from the trade show, get that email ready. The email was ready, download it, put it in there saying, thanks for visiting our booth. We will be in touch individually with an email within the next, 1 to 3 days. And I think I said 2 to 4, because if I was staying a couple days, I would want to, at nights I would work on it, in between the meetings and things like that. But then I would send everybody an individual email saying, hey, it was great to meet you. Early days, if I had notes, we could do that. And then obviously, I would have X amount. I mean, sometimes it was, hundreds of emails that you would send out, and then every single one of them saying, if I haven't heard from you, because my last sentence would be, if I know you're busy, you're going to get a lot of follow-up, but if I haven't heard from you in, 7 to 10 days or 10 to 14 days, I will send you a reminder email. And that would be on my list, out of my spreadsheet saying sent, right? Like, again, right. The follow-up is, and we had this conversation at our coffee meeting, right? The talk about people like, oh, I'm not phoning you for a week after. Well, no, they've already forgotten about you if you haven't sent some sort of communication and then put it into that next level if I haven't heard back from you again, right? So they've actually now in 14 days would have received 3 emails from me reminding them like who I am, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because 2 things. One is that, as I'm traveling through exhibitions and trade shows, and I'm walking the exhibitions and I'm talking to people, I talk to a lot of attendees. And typically, they don't hear from anybody for the first 7 days. Post 7 days, when 7th and 14th day, most of the communications come and they say, all of them are generic, no reference to the discussion I've had. I've also forgotten. So it becomes like one more mail. So that's sort of the feel that I get. So this organized way of getting it out, getting it to the point, I guess is a challenge that a lot of people face, and I hear it from both sides. I was talking to exhibitors as well. They say, we'll go back, and between 7 and 14 days we'll get back in touch. So I did ask them that, don't you think that all the exhibitors are going to do that? So this guy who has met maybe 30 visited 30 booths and met 30 companies, all of them are going to send him mails in like 7 to 14 days. Yeah, but it's difficult to do before that.
Well, I don't. It's not difficult. All right. I think you're lazy. Then, like, if that's me though, right? Like, I mean, I loved having those people, especially if they were my competitors, right? Like, I know if I've sent you 3 emails and in 14 days somebody has sent you 1, what does that say about the company or the person that you want to deal with, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you mentioned that those days it was like collecting visiting cards and noting stuff down behind. Today it is scanning the badges. What else has changed according to you in the entire scenario?
Like I've gone to trade shows, with peer guidance and things along those lines, and it doesn't look like things have changed. On that end, right? Everybody's there, gone, got their products, things along that line. It seems the one thing that it seems like there's a lot more swag now. like we had little things, cheap things, but I mean, I can go to a show now and probably walk away with 10 t-shirts, right? Like,
yes.
Like as a swag guy, I like that, but I'm just like, I don't know if you're spending your money. Like what's going through my mind is the cost of that shirt right away. And if I'm handing out, 500 shirts, I was like, oh God, that's a lot of money. Right. Again. So, again, I every trade show that I've gone to now as an exhibit, like just a person that's going there and we've exhibited at a few, but again, it was very industry specific and very small. Right. Like even like even with the Canadian Blockchain Consortium, when we went to Bitcoin 23 in Miami, like we're talking about, do we want to spend $20,000, $30,000 on a booth, or do we want to bring 100 of our people and on a yacht party and spend a little bit more money? So we did the yacht party, right? Something different, right? So we're not just what's a Canadian Blockchain Consortium? Well, you know what? We're going to make this something, an invite only type thing. It's going to be exclusive to the people that we want to bring. And we're going to want to get members and partners and things out of this. And we did that, and we did, right? So, sometimes, it's something a little different at it. Maybe it's a party room now, right? Like I'm seeing a lot more of those when we go out. Like we'll go to the show, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're there for a shorter period of time because we got to go to this party, this one, this event, right? Where people are like, well, okay, we're going to bring people and talk about ourselves, and we know we got them, right?
So I have two follow-up questions on that particular point. One is that I hear that if anything, the organizers guard with their lives is the attendee list. Mm-hmm. They loathe to part with it. So if you're an exhibitor in a large exhibition, you can scan as many badges as you want, but that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get a list of all the registrants. So first question is, do you sort of see the same thing? And two, how difficult or easy is it to pull off something like the yacht party, where you want to sort of obviously invite people who matter? So you are really trying to do some fine targeting of ICPs and trying to get them in. Yeah.
I mean, you'll never get an attendee list from anybody, right? If I ever found out that you were handing out my information to people, and I'm sure they're selling it. I don't know. Like I can't, You get so much garbage, emails right now that I have a whole, sometimes if I attend a thing, I set up a spam account, right? And because I don't want to be bothered, right? So, but again, I'm not going there looking for anything in particular, right? So, but again, I mean, there is a big value in setting something up on the side, right? I mean, it's nothing new. But I mean, if you're just going to set something up, again, having that plan and having a targeted list rather than saying, okay, I'm going to invite, 600 people to my party and spend it on booze or whatever you want to spend it on and not get anything out of it. Well, that's wrong. Having a targeted, smaller invite only, you create, saying, hey, we're going to take you on a 4-hour yacht cruise, feed you, talk to you, have some panel discussions, bring in a Cuban cigar roller or whatever, all the things that we did to make it memorable and saying, hey, you know what? I've got you. You can't go anywhere right now. I've got you for 4 hours. So I can talk about the benefits and make a ton of introductions for you and show you the value that our organization, can bring if you want to join. So again, it doesn't have to be a big party. It just, you have to have a plan and make sure it's money well spent.
Yeah. My question is that how do you actually execute on the plan in terms of identifying these guys, ensuring that they're actually there, and then they actually come? So it's like doing any event, right? I mean, If you're doing a standalone event, you're trying to invite some people. That's a very complicated process. It's not easy.
No,
you can be calling, you can be mailing, you can be following up till the last moment, and still 50% will not really show up and 50% will, which is fine.
Yeah.
But how do you actually pull it off in somebody else's show where you really don't have access to data? I'm just curious.
No, we know. We just use our social media channels in our current, and we put it out there. Is anybody going? If we're putting it on LinkedIn or Twitter, or we know a lot of the people, like a lot of the people that would go to these shows. So we knew that they were there in 2022 because we were there, right? So we had an idea of how many people were going to be coming, and then we reached out to our network to have them, find out of people that they think that who should we invite. So, we talked to people that, some of our connections in the States, and, who would do business in Canada, who's coming up to Canada, find out for us. Are they going to be there? Let's get them in. So we curated that list ourselves. It wasn't trying to find anything. It was, and then we reached out personally to them, right? And saying, hey, we're doing this. We're only allowed 100 people. The first 100 people that we email and say yes are in. And, we're not inviting 2 or 3 of your people from your organization. We're inviting you, right? So like this, And we had no problem filling the boat. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great thing, because I mean that also, to my mind, it also opens up the ability to invite some folks who are possibly not coming to the trade show but still part of your ICP,
Yep.
right? So that's the good part of it.
Yep.
I mean, if you have to get them into the show, you have to buy a ticket, you have to, to
Yep.
go through 100 other hoops. Let's again shift the track a bit. Is trade show? I mean, you have touched upon it, but I would like you to elaborate if you can. Uh, is it a viable channel for startups? Is are trade shows viable channel?
Absolutely. Right. I mean, there's companies here that that might have $500,000 in sales, maybe a little more, maybe $1 million in sales, that now have some capital that they can spend on that, or maybe they actually got an investment from an investor, and the investor believed in their in their business plan that had, like, we'd like to send this event, right? And they're like, if you give us a $500,000 investment, this is how we're going to spend it, and this is how we're going to grow, and things along those lines, right? So, we've seen some startups here that go to Montreal, that go to New York, have gone down to the States to set up, and we've worked with some of them. But again, some of these people have never done it before, so reaching out and asking for help is something that is extremely important. If you think you're going to take a pull-up banner and your product and be there, you're not ready, right? You gotta understand, you gotta, like, especially, and I'm not talking swag, but just the things that you're going to hand out shouldn't be on a foolscap, a 10 by 11. It should be on a glossy 20-pound test, really colored, and spend a little time designing something really nice that's to the point and short, that you're going to hand out to the people. And then again, make sure that you're bringing the right people down, because if you're just going to go down with one because you think you're saving money, well, you know what? You should probably be bringing 3, because you're going to lose money if you don't. And people are going to walk away from your booth because you're talking to somebody. So, we've done a lot of strategy building with these companies to make sure that they understand the importance of just not walking in, rolling up your banner and standing there and thinking it's going to work. So we've seen a lot of success here. But again, for those ones that don't plan, it is a waste of time. It is a waste of money. And if you get nothing out of it, well, you know what? Well, you put nothing into it. So what do you expect?
Very true. Very true. So you say that you are helping startups build strategies. Have you got any stories that you can share of some company that you're involved with using this channel extremely well through the planning process and through the execution, and actually coming out with leads which they have converted? So do you have any sort of full life cycle story that you can share with us?
Yeah, there's a couple companies I could share. I know, like, Fly and Fetch. Oh God, I'm forgetting her name now. They did a lot of. They had a unique business, right? That would be, buying your luggage space and paying for your ticket to take stuff back to the Philippines, right? So it was like, if somebody wants to come here and buy a really expensive watch or buy a few things and they're coming back, it was like, it was a very, very unique. But when they would go to a trade show, like, again, they were just like, well, okay, we're just going to go there. I was like, well, no, what do you got? Well, you got to have something to tell your story and things along that. And they grew their how many people that they brought on and used their product, immensely. And then another company here in Calgary that's been using it really, really well is Retnologic. And they're kind of like they're an eye. It's a VR eye test that they're using. So you just put on like ski goggles and then it'll do your eye test rather than sitting in there and, doing those. And they've been successful of hitting up shows because they're prepared, because they know what they're doing. They might have a TV there that shows their product, little things that you might forget or not have. Again, using the proper POS, having the right people there. Again, little things that go into planning that they've been able to turn into distributorships, into partnerships, into sales, across North America. So, I mean, those are just a couple quick examples of companies that have really, just benefited from, having conversations with us, right?
Sure. So these guys are going to some ophthalmology exhibitions and trade shows and showing it to doctors and clinics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. Again, I mean, and you understand the importance of, if you're going to be, if you're going to go bang on doors, the chances of you of seeing the ophthalmologist or, the eye doctor or anybody is zero. Like, you're not getting it. You're getting to the front desk, right? Well, then you're going to leave a brochure there. Well, you know what? These guys use this, dentists use that. They're out there. They're going to be there. And this is where they see a lot of the new cool tech that's out there that they may want us. So you better be ready.
Right.
Right.
So two questions, and we'll wrap this up. First question is, when you imagine exceptionally experiential events, what do you see, in the sense that you don't see it today, but you wish people did exhibitions like this, or people did trade shows like this? So what's your grand vision, if any?
I don't know if I have a grand vision. As somebody who's, really, as you said earlier, works with startups, works with scale ups, since we exited our companies and a few others, been kind of immersed in the giving back and sharing the knowledge.
Right. Yes.
My grand vision is more on preparedness, right? Like, just, I want people to realize that money is hard to come by, easy to spend, hard to come by, right? Hard to make. Like, it's difficult to build a business. And if you think that just by attending trade shows frivolously and being there is going to help your business, you don't have the right mentality, and you don't have the right solution to potentially building your business. And you're going to waste money. So my grand vision is more along the lines of, again, what we talked about this entire podcast is preparedness, is spending your money wisely, is having the right people, the right follow-up, the right plan. It's evolved from just being there and doing it, because I've been on both sides as a sales rep and a guy who owned, been, partner in a company type thing. So I've seen both of them. And I can tell you that when I was a partner in a company, I had a lot less fun at night than I did when I was a sales rep at a company that, I could go sit in the bathroom and not feel very well for certain periods of time. So again, I think it's that is something that is my grand vision, is the preparedness and the professionalism that you need to bring to a show. So it might be a different answer than, some of the people that you bring, but that's something that, because I still see the value in trade shows when you're ready for them.
I mean, it's bang on. I think, if you strip away the glitz, if you strip away the technology, if you strip away everything and go to the core, yeah, that you are going somewhere to meet people that you would otherwise not be able to meet or have access to. If you don't have a plan, you are going to do nothing with it, which is really a great opportunity, and it'll just go by.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
PitchLink makes buying easy by enabling high quality engagement between buyers and sellers. Through its presentation and discussion modules, sellers create customized sales narratives using sales collaterals and personal videos, and reach out to prospects through a non-intrusive, buyer-qualified engagement process. PitchLink requires no installation or download, contains and manages the entire repository of sales collaterals and buyer-seller conversations. Talk to us to know more about how you can engage with customers without interruption. Connect with us on LinkedIn or visit tradeshowengage.com. That is tradeshowengage.com. Jade, thank you so much. And I hope that we'll again have a chance to catch up for a coffee.
Awesome. I enjoyed this. Thank you for having me on.
We have a fantastic lineup over the next couple of episodes featuring great conversations on engaging your booth visitors and maximizing your ROI from your trade show investments. Subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you do not miss a single episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for being with us today on the Trade Show Podcast, the podcast of record for the trade show and events industry. Here we talk to movers and shakers of the $50 billion trade show industry and identify ideas, challenges, tactics, and strategies to leverage the first-party intent inherent in the trade show business. We hope this conversation helped inform and motivate as we all navigate a rapidly changing business environment. For us, these are enlightening conversations enriched with knowledge and expertise. We encourage you to go out and implement some of the ideas we discussed today. We hope to have you with us again in the next exciting episode of the Trade Show podcast. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platform like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast from, and give us a rating while you are at it. This is a Bizcast original podcast and is produced for Pitchling, the next generation visitor engagement platform, where our mission is to make buying easy. Hosted by Shubhanjan Sarkar and produced by Rajiv Aditya. See you next time and have a wonderful day.